no one wants an inferior product. No one wants to pay a lot more, and everyone wants something that has no microplastics and is biodegradable. And so we're trying to be well positioned to be that option.
This is the Angel Next Door podcast, where we will talk about all things angel investing, what it is, who does it, how do we find them, what does it mean to invest in an early stage company. If you have ever wondered how you can affect the change you want to see in the world, then tune in to learn more.
In this episode, I'm talking to Dillon Baxter, the innovative entrepreneur behind PlantSwitch, a company revolutionizing the fight against plastic waste with truly biodegradable alternatives. Dillon shares the fascinating story of how PlantSwitch went from redistributing straws in Dallas to landing an 80 million unit contract with Walmart and Taylor Farms. Tune in to discover how Dillon built his manufacturing operations in China in just 45 days, the challenges of scaling sustainable solutions, and why trade secrets might be more valuable than patents. Plus, get an exclusive look at how PlantSwitch plans to expand its eco-friendly material into new industries and territories. Enjoy the show. Dillon, welcome to the Angel Next Door podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited for you to tell our listeners today a lot about how you have built up PlantSwitch, your company. I just love everything that you're doing. It is so great for our environment. It's an amazing product. So why don't you just start off, tell us a little bit about your background and how PlantSwitch came to be and exactly what it is.
Yeah, I started PlantSwitch 5 years ago now, which time flies.
Wow, time does fly.
I went to college at SMU, played golf there. That's actually how I met my co-founder, Maxime. I was working at a private equity firm my senior year. We got to cover a plastic alternative company. I was really intrigued by that idea and concept and went down a bit of a rabbit hole. Wow, this is this massive problem that no one's really effectively solved yet. No one wants a paper straw falling apart in their drink. And it was, why is there not a better alternative? Got to see some emerging technology that was promising and I was enthusiastic about, but didn't really know how to get started. So we basically just started redistributing straws in Dallas. From those conversations with customers, we learned that everyone wants the problem solved with these three things, but nothing in the world existed that could solve it. It was a quality problem. Everyone wanted something that felt and functioned more like plastic. They also wanted they wanted something that would be affordable, not 5 times the cost of plastic, and something that was truly biodegradable. And 95% of the things that were in the market were maybe labeled compostable or biodegradable, but wouldn't actually biodegrade in nature. And once we realized that, we set out to create a technology that actually could solve those three things. That's when we decided to raise capital. That's when we got into manufacturing, hired a technical team, and created the product that we have today, which is a truly biodegradable alternative to plastic, feels, functions, and is produced similar to how plastic is. Not going to fall apart in your drink. But it's also affordable. Enterprise customers can justify the premium that they have to pay for it. It's not ridiculous. And it's truly biodegradable. If it ends up in the environment, it's going to go away in a matter of months, not 100 or 1,000 plus years.
And so you're doing more than just straws now, though, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So what we developed was actually the raw material that's used to make the straws. So we do forks, knives, spoons, all types of food packaging, container lids, portion cups, so basically putting together a whole portfolio of food packaging products.
Wow. So the first step, if I'm remembering right, is that you decided that it was too much to try to manufacture however you were trying to do it before, that you actually needed to build a plant. And you did that in North Carolina. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so we started the company basically just finding manufacturers and acting as a broker or redistributor. And that's difficult to do in the food service space effectively. And also what we realized was there didn't even exist the product that everyone wanted. And so was the light bulb moment of, oh, we need to go out and create this for ourselves and for the rest of the market. And that was when we raised our first round of capital. We hired a team of technical people, spent a couple of years in research and development, trying to perfect the material that we have now. And then also when we started thinking about creating this material, we were like, okay, are we going to use existing manufacturers? Are we going to do it ourselves? And we're in a business where price is very important and margins are not super high. And so it just didn't really make sense for us to contract out the supply chain economically. But I think also it's really important to do your own thing because it allows you to control quality. And if you're starting up a new technology, you're trying to get a new product into the market, having the ability to control the quality yourself, I think is really critical. And I didn't end up going the outsourced route, but I'm pretty confident that we wouldn't have been able to control it as well as we did by doing it ourselves. And that's another really important thing too. You mentioned the North Carolina facilities. We started a facility in North Carolina that was about a 50,000 square foot facility. That was really the center of our research and development work. And then we also started production out of that. But what happened was we ended up with a little bit more demand from a very large client than we probably anticipated. And as we were looking at, oh gosh, like how do we scale up and fulfill this order? We realized that the facility that we had wasn't going to be sufficient. And that's when we made the pivot to starting our manufacturing facility in China. And we were able to get a facility stood up in about 45 days there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we won the contract with Walmart and Taylor Farms. So we were able to make, we're currently making all of the forks for their single serve salad bowls. And it's about 80 million forks a year. So that's a lot. And we had to scale up and start producing that basically overnight. In 45 days, we got a facility in China, hired a team, put the machines in, commissioned everything, and then started producing immediately. And we were able to hit our first delivery dates on time. We've been able to stay on time since then. And the move really opened up a lot of things for us. And it's been so successful that we've actually now fully moved all of our manufacturing and development to that facility and closed down the North Carolina one.
Wow. A lot of entrepreneurs end up with this problem where they realize they have some demand and then they're like, oh dear, now what do I do? Because I don't have the supply to fill these orders. So that had to have been like a really challenging time because you're trying to figure this out. And at the same time, you don't want to lose this big potential customer.
Yeah, it's the age old, you got to sell it before you might have it, a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic deal. We weren't going to say no. And sometimes it's nice when you're forced to do things, right? Like when you just don't have another option and you just have to do it, it typically makes you do things that you don't think were possible.
Yeah. All right. You're selling millions of forks a year, obviously, with the Walmart contract. And then these other pieces and different types of containers and silverware and types of things that you're making. Like, what is silverware the biggest thing that you're doing, or what's that like?
That was the first product that we launched. We've had the most time to sell it. So right now that's our biggest item. But now we're launching cups, we're doing lids, we're doing also the smaller portion cups and lids. We've got straws. We're also doing some really cool development projects for some of our customers where we're doing more container type products, bowls. So yeah, for us, we were never just going to be a straw or fork company, right? The goal was to use the material that we have developed to create a whole host of products. And we're focused on food packaging right now. We think that's where the biggest need for this is. But realistically, the material can be used in all sorts of different industries. And again, we're not a food packaging company. We're a technology company and a materials company. You could use our product for toys or agricultural products or cosmetics, even medical. There's just so many applications where people need a more sustainable plastic alternative. And so long-term, the vision of PlantSwitch is that we do end up in all those different industry verticals, but it's also important to focus on a few things at once and not try to be everything to everyone. At least
yes. Oh my gosh, that is so true. I see too many entrepreneurs that are trying to do everything and they end up not being able to really make it in any particular vertical. Gosh, so many questions. So when you're coming up on the ideas of like how to actually get the product to be biodegradable, like what's the IP around that? What are some of the things that you had to go through in order to get that to where it is today?
So the core of our technology is a polymer that actually occurs in nature. So this is something that nature's incredible, right? And it has so many amazing applications that it does on its own and we don't even think about. So this is something that does happen in nature. And what we developed is a way to scale that more commercially. So harness what nature has done and do it in a more commercially scalable, economically viable way. We have a fantastic team of technical folks that have helped us develop that. And we also have good partners along the supply chain that we innovate together with. And I think that's been a really key recipe for success for us as well. But yeah, we basically use agricultural residues. We combine that with the polymer that occurs in nature, and it creates a finished resin that can be used to make all the products that we have.
Yeah, no, like with other patents that you filed for related to this, or
correct.
How do you protect it?
Yeah, so we have a couple patents that we filed. We've really started going a little bit more down the trade secret route. This is a difficult space and the problem with the patent is if you patent it, you tell everyone how you did it, and we don't necessarily want that. And frankly, it's hard to protect that with Asian manufacturers. What we're doing is we're keeping everything really tight to the chest, and we've developed a lot of really meaningful IP that we'll probably continue to have in the form of trade secret as opposed to patenting it and telling everyone how we did it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like the Coca-Cola recipe, right? That's what people use as a good example, right? So then let's go back to you get a contract with Walmart. How did you even know where to start when it came to trying to get contracts with some of these bigger companies?
We actually ended up hiring a couple folks that had some experience in that space. And so they had the right contacts. And it was one of those fortuitous tiny things where they were actually going and trying to find a material that exactly fit the criteria of what we have. As soon as we got introduced and they understood the benefit of what we had, it was honestly a pretty easy conversation because it's exactly what they've been looking for. They hadn't been able to find anything that hit that criteria. And the only other things they had that were close were 45% more expensive than us.
Amazing.
Those things where all the factors aligned really well, and we were able to fortunately win that opportunity. And we've developed a great relationship with Taylor Farms, who's the main producer for that. And we have a lot more exciting things coming out with them soon. So I'm excited to be able to announce that hopefully next year.
Amazing. We talk to entrepreneurs all the time about
You really have to have a problem that you're solving, not just come up with a really good solution. But that's such a great example of you were really solving a problem that people were not able to solve before. And that would be like, you're not necessarily banging on Walmart's store being, please take our product. No, they really wanted it.
Yeah, and I think that is a big reason that we've been successful is that we took the approach of, okay, let's find out what everyone wants, and then let's work back from there. And I think a lot of the other maybe like technologies in our space or even in climate tech in general are more, oh, there's this cool concept, right? Let's develop this concept and then let's try to show people why they want it, right? And it's two very different thought processes because when you have that customer driven, hey, this is exactly what needs to happen, I think you're a lot more conscious about things like price and you're more conscious about, hey, how am I going to distribute this product? Whereas if you're just focusing on the technology itself, you can get into the loop of, oh, I just want to optimize the product, but you're not maybe always figuring out or thinking about, okay, what does the customer really want from that product? It's more, how can I make this product better? And there's two trains of thought to that. And the other approach has worked well in many companies, but for us, I think that's been a big driver for our success.
Yeah. As you were developing the product, how was that whole process of trying to keep price top of mind, but you're really trying to get to that end goal that you want?
It's a challenge, right? It's obviously a big challenge. Sometimes there's things that you really want to try and you run the numbers on it and you realize probably isn't worth our time and effort right now. So again, I think it's when you get forced to do something, then you typically figure things out, like putting constraints around where you need to be price wise, where you need to be quality wise, and then being really mindful about what the distribution model needs to look like as well. Constraints help. And that's been an important thing that's, again, guided a lot of our development process.
So in 45 days, you stood up a facility outside of the country in order to manufacture and put together the product really from beginning to end. So it comes here to the United States or wherever I'm guessing it's used all around the world, yes?
Yeah. We now have some customers in Asia and Europe and starting to really build that side of the business out more.
Yeah. Tell us more about what it's like to run a manufacturing plant in a completely different country and you live here in the US.
I can't take much or any credit for that. My team's really good. They have a lot of experience in international manufacturing and is stuff that they've done before. And we also have an unbelievable team in Asia and they've done a really good job. It makes my life a lot easier having people that really know what they're doing and have done it before. It'd be very difficult for me to manage that myself. And so really just have to give all the credit to them.
Interesting. How often are you traveling over there? And
I go every 2-ish months. So very frequently.
That's good. Tell us also a little bit about, you got the first contract with Walmart. That was the first big one, and which kind of led you to do all these things. Like, how then do you decide, okay, who else are we going to try to get as customers? What's that balance like?
So yeah, it was interesting. That was a very large enterprise contract. And it was one of those where it was like, hey, this is a very set need. It's going to be really high volume and we're going to slot it into production. And we chased our tail a little bit with that, trying to find more that were like that. And we realized that sales cycle is really long. Typically, we got really fortunate with the one that we got into. And so that was a bit of a learning lesson was, hey, like very happy that happened, but tougher to replicate a bunch of times. And so we still have a lot of amazing enterprise deals that are probably going to start next year, but we definitely overestimated how fast they would happen. And so once we started to realize, that's when we not necessarily pivoted, but focused a little bit more on the more distribution route, which for us is putting together a portfolio of food packaging products, selling that through distributors to more small, mid-sized clients, less about saying, hey, here's one SKU and we're going to try to sell hundreds of millions of it to one customer. So everything has worked out really well. We've been fortunate in a lot of ways because it's a lot easier to execute on one SKU with the big customer to get started. So very happy that's the way that we got into the market. But now we've spent this entire year putting together that whole more holistic portfolio of food packaging, and you'll see a little bit more of an organic growth and kind of a network effect growth from that business.
Yeah, I would imagine with the distributors, there's everything, like every size, every type of supply chain issue, like within the distributing houses that you're working with. So I can only imagine that you're trying to deal with a lot of different logistics as opposed to just, oh, we're going to make a product and then give it to our end customer.
For the distributors, they can't just carry a fork, right? Like for it to be worth it for you to stock, they have to carry a bunch of different things and they want it to all be from the same vendor. And so that's what took us a while to develop all these other products so that we could actually effectively work with them. But like even in cutlery, for instance, like it's not just a fork, it's you have individually wrapped, you have kits, you have napkin rolls, you have all these different variations that a distributor needs to have. And yeah, it's the product side of the business we've gotten really good at it, but it has been a lot of work and it's more complex than you would probably anticipate from just food packaging.
And I'm imagining that can really eat into your margins if you're not careful.
Yeah, it can, definitely.
Yeah. But you've basically now put together a suite of products that these distributors can say, okay, do they get to pick?
So eventually they should just have every SKU in a warehouse. There's a bit of a chicken or egg situation there where like they're not going to bring in a SKU that they don't have an immediate customer for. And so over the next few months, we'll have to build that and get the momentum for that. So we're still selling to direct end user clients. But the nice thing is it doesn't have to be Walmart, right? Like it can be a 10 location restaurant chain who said, hey, we want to buy these straws. And that's enough for the distributor to put it in the warehouse, right? So it's just knocking off like a lot of those singles, doubles, easy wins. And then once you get all of your SKUs at the distributor's warehouse, it's a lot easier for that field rep from the distributor to go push to all of their clients, and you become more of just the preferred compostable product, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that a lot of our listeners actually have used PlantSwitch products before and they might not even know it.
Probably, yeah. Probably straws.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the things you can tell us that are going to be happening in the future?
We talked about the product portfolio rollout, which definitely excited about that. We have some pretty big name enterprise deals that I think are going to happen next year that I can't really drop names with, unfortunately. But I think the goal for us is that our material does become that replacement to plastic. So when you go to a restaurant, you're not going to see a paper straw anymore. You're going to be using our material. And I think it'll take a couple of years for that to fully take place. But in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. No one wants an inferior product. No one wants to pay a lot more. And everyone wants something that has no microplastics and is biodegradable. And so we're trying to be well positioned to be that option.
So your competitors, I guess I would say, are either an inferior product that has a reasonable cost, or it's a fairly decent product, but it has a very high cost, and or it's not really as compostable as people say it is.
Yeah, I'd say that 95% of the products out there fall into it's not actually biodegradable. Pretty much everything that's out there, it's only industrial compostable, which, don't get me wrong, that's great when it happens, but we can't even recycle. We're definitely not sending stuff to industrial facilities to compost them. And so it's really important that if you're going to be a quote unquote biodegradable products, that you biodegrade in nature. You'd think that would be very straightforward, but 95% of the products just are not. And so that kind of wipes out the whole competitive landscape from just that alone. And then of that 5% that may actually be biodegradable, it's typically way more expensive, and we're way less expensive than that other 5%. So we're in a very nice place competitively right now. And for us, we have to maintain that advantage and make sure that we execute well and focus on what we need to focus on and not get too distracted by shiny objects.
Yeah. Well, Dillon, you are full of great information and advice for our listeners. I appreciate you coming on today and telling us all about what you're working on at PlantSwitch.
Thank you for having me.
Dillon. Thanks for listening. To connect with me, visit my website at marciadawood.com. And please subscribe, follow, and leave a review. It helps the podcast get seen by more people. And remember, you can also find the Angel Next Door podcast on YouTube too. And if you're looking to learn more about investing in the changes you want to see in the world, sign up for Ann and Bill Payne's ACA Angel University classes. Go to theangelcapitalassociation.org, all one word, to find out the schedule. And classes are now available on demand. Many classes are offered, everything from angel investing basics, which include fundamentals, risk, due diligence, term sheets, valuations, returns and portfolio strategy, and even a class on group formation. There's even a deeper dive where you can get advanced classes, including capitalization tables, startup boards, and exit strategies. If you're not already a member of the Angel Capital Association, you can become one for a low price that will give you unparalleled access to discounts, free webinars with a huge archive of content, networking opportunities, and much more. We'd love to have you join us.
All content for this website is informational and not intended to serve as legal, tax, accounting, or investing advice. Well, Marcia, that's me, does serve on the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee. My views are my own and not the views of the SEC or my fellow colleagues on the committee. Our speakers and hosts are thoughtfully selected for their educational value, but their opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, me, or the Angel Capital Association, and neither specifically endorse the use of presenters' products or services. Listeners of the podcast should consult their own tax, investing, legal, or accounting advisors before making important financial decisions. All warranties, including accuracy, completeness, and suitability for specific purpose, are disclaimed.